If you're over 60, this may be the most important message you hear today. Because the truth is, strokes rarely come out of nowhere. Your body. It whispers before it screams. The problem is, most of us were never taught how to listen. We're told to expect little slips as we age. A missed word, a stumble, a strange moment of dizziness. But what if those aren't just senior moments? What if those are your brain's quiet cry for help? You've lived through enough to know your body. You know what tired feels like. You know what dehydrated feels like. But what about something that feels different? Off. Like something inside you shifted, and you can't quite explain why. That's why I made this for you. Because too many good people brush off those signals, only to find out later they were the early signs of a stroke. And by the time they act, it's already changed everything. This isn't fear-mongering. It's empowerment. If you've ever felt a sudden wobble, lost your words mid-sentence, or seen the world go blurry for a heartbeat and thought, maybe I'm just tired. Please, stay with me. Because you deserve the chance to recognize what your body is trying to tell you. And you deserve the chance to protect your brain, your memory, your independence, before it's too late. Why do these early signs matter so much? Because stroke isn't just a health issue. It's a race against time. Here's something most people don't know. About 1 in 3 people who experience a mini-stroke, what doctors call a TIA, go on to have a major stroke, often within the next year. And it gets even more urgent. Most of those full-blown strokes happen within just a few days. But here's the part that gives you power. If that warning sign is caught early, if you take action, you can lower your risk of a major stroke by as much as 80%. That's not guesswork. That's proven by research. So ask yourself, would you rather wait and hope it's nothing, or catch the problem when there's still time to stop it? Because that's the difference we're talking about here. Instead of living with regret, you could live with relief. Instead of telling your family, I thought it was nothing, you could be the one who acted fast and protected your brain. You don't need to know everything. You just need to recognize the signs and do something when they show up. In a moment, I'll walk you through the 8 warning signs you must know. But first, remember this. Every stroke begins with a second you can't get back. Let's not waste another one. Have you ever stood up and suddenly felt like the room tilted, even though everything around you looked still? Maybe you reached for a wall. Maybe your legs didn't feel steady beneath you. Maybe it passed, and you told yourself, I must just be tired. Maybe I skipped a meal. But here's the truth. When you're over 60, sudden dizziness, the kind that comes out of nowhere, isn't something to brush off. It could be your cerebellum, the part of your brain that controls balance, not getting the blood flow it needs. And that's not just a wobbly moment. That's a warning. You see, unlike simple fatigue or dehydration, stroke-related dizziness feels different. It doesn't improve when you lie down. It doesn't pass when you drink water. It feels unsettling. Your body knows something's off. Many people, maybe even someone you know, have had this exact sensation and ignored it. Then, days later, they found themselves in a hospital bed, wondering how it all happened so fast. Instead of assuming it's just old age, consider this. Your body could be giving you one shot to catch a stroke before it changes everything. Don't wait. If you feel sudden, unexplained dizziness, especially if it's paired with blurry vision, nausea, or a heavy head. Call for help. Because acting fast might mean keeping your independence. It might mean walking on your own, speaking clearly, remembering the names of the people you love. That's what's at stake. Have you ever experienced this kind of dizziness and wondered what it meant? If so, you're not alone. And your story might help someone else recognize the same moment in their own life. Have you ever looked up and, for just a moment, the world looked off? Maybe things went blurry, or you saw double. Maybe your vision narrowed like a tunnel, or black spots danced across your eyes. And just as quickly as it came, it passed. So you told yourself, I must need new glasses. Happens with age, right? But here's what most people don't realize. Vision changes that come on suddenly, not gradually, can be one of the earliest signs of a stroke. Why? Because it's not your eyes failing, it's your brain. The part of your brain that processes what you see may not be getting enough oxygen. When blood flow is disrupted, it can't make sense of the signals your eyes send. That's why things look strange, even though your eyes are working. And that's dangerous, because sometimes these symptoms last a few minutes, other times just seconds. But even if your vision goes back to normal, your brain might have just experienced a mini stroke. What doctors call a TIA. And here's what you need to know. 1 in 3 people who experience a TIA will go on to have a major stroke, often within a year, sometimes within days. So instead of thinking, it's probably nothing, ask yourself, what if this is my only warning? Don't wait. If your vision suddenly changes, if it blurs, doubles, narrows, or fades, even briefly, get help immediately. Because the sooner you act, the more brain you can save. And when it comes to protecting your memory, your movement, and your independence, every second counts. Have you or someone you love ever had vision just go strange for a moment? Your story could help someone else realize they're not just aging. Their brain might be crying out for help. Have you ever been mid-conversation and suddenly the words just didn't come out right? You knew what you wanted to say, but your mouth couldn't keep up. Or maybe someone was talking to you, and their words sounded like a foreign language. Not because they were speaking too fast, not because you were distracted, but because your brain just couldn't make sense of the sounds. That's not just a senior moment. It's not about being tired, or stressed, or forgetful. It could be aphasia, a symptom that happens when a stroke affects the part of the brain responsible for language. This isn't just about mixing up words or losing your train of thought. This is when your brain knows what it wants to say, but the signal gets scrambled. You might say the wrong word, forget simple ones, or feel like your voice is lagging behind your thoughts. And sometimes, you're aware it's happening, which makes it all the more frightening. It's a moment that can feel isolating, confusing, even embarrassing. But it's also a moment that demands action, because this isn't just about words. It's about your brain misfiring. And that could mean a stroke is starting. Instead of thinking, I'll see if it gets better, think, this might be my only chance to stop something worse. Even if the confusion lasts just a minute or two, take it seriously. If you or someone you love suddenly struggles to speak clearly or understand language, don't wait. Get help right away. Because when it comes to stroke, the faster you respond, the more of yourself you protect. Have you ever had a moment where your thoughts and words felt disconnected? Sharing that story might help someone realize it's not just age, it's time to act. Have you ever tried to say something simple, maybe your name, or I'm fine, and the words came out slow, slurred, or just wrong? Not because you were sleepy, not because you were mumbling, but because your mouth just wasn't cooperating. That's one of the most recognizable signs of a stroke. And yet, people still miss it. Why? Because it often shows up quietly. You might still feel sharp mentally. You know what you want to say, but your lips, your tongue, your voice, they can't keep up. Instead of sounding like yourself, your speech sounds off. Thick, slow, slurred. It can feel like your mouth forgot how to move. This isn't dehydration. It's not a dry throat. It's your brain struggling to send the right signals to the muscles that control speech. And that's something you cannot afford to ignore. Instead of brushing it off and thinking, I must be tired, ask yourself, why now? Why suddenly? Because stroke-related slurred speech doesn't build slowly. It comes on fast. And even if it disappears after a few minutes, that doesn't mean you're safe. It could have been a TIA, a mini-stroke, and that may be your only warning before a much larger one follows. Here's a simple test. Say your full name out loud. Then try a clear sentence like, "Today is a beautiful day." If it doesn't sound right, or if someone tells you you're slurring, don't wait. Get help immediately. Because slurred speech is more than an inconvenience. It's your brain sounding the alarm. Have you ever had a moment where your voice just didn't sound like you? That moment could be the difference between walking away and needing help for the rest of your life. Have you ever reached for something? A cup of water? A doorknob? And your arm just didn't respond the way it should? Maybe it felt heavy. Maybe it felt numb. Or maybe your leg dragged a little when you stood up, like it forgot how to move. It's easy to think, maybe I slept on it wrong, or it'll pass. But when it comes to stroke, weakness or numbness on one side of the body isn't just strange, it's serious. That's because your brain controls movement on opposite sides of your body. If blood flow is blocked, the signals from your brain can't reach your muscles. That's why your hand goes numb. That's why your leg feels weak. That's why one side of your face droops. It's not about muscle. It's about connection. And when that connection is broken, even for a moment, you need to act. Because the longer your brain goes without oxygen, the more damage can be done. Here's a quick way to test it. Raise both arms in front of you. Can you hold them steady? Or does one arm drift down? That's not just fatigue. That's a red flag. And here's what's even more dangerous. Sometimes the weakness passes. You might feel normal again a few minutes later. But that doesn't mean you're in the clear. It could have been a TIA, and your body just gave you its one and only warning. Instead of waiting to see if it comes back, get help. Because it might not come back as a warning. It might come back as a full-blown stroke. Have you ever felt this kind of sudden weakness or numbness and just brushed it off? Please don't. Because every second you wait could cost you movement, memory, or the ability to live independently. Have you ever walked across the room and, for no clear reason, your leg felt off? Like it wasn't quite connected to your body? Maybe you stumbled over nothing. Maybe your foot dragged just a little. It's easy to shrug moments like that off. I must have lost my balance. Maybe I got up too fast. Guess I'm just getting older. But here's the truth. When movement suddenly feels clumsy or unfamiliar, especially if it comes out of nowhere, it could be your brain trying to get your attention. You see, strokes don't just affect memory or speech. They can disrupt how your brain tells your body to move. That's why one leg might lag behind. Why you feel unsteady, even though the floor is flat. Why walking, something you've done your whole life, suddenly feels confusing. And no, it's not just age, because aging doesn't usually hit you all at once. Stroke does. The difference? Aging makes changes slowly, over months or years. But a stroke causes sudden changes, quick, unsettling, and out of nowhere. And when your brain's coordination center doesn't get enough blood, your body stops cooperating. So don't try to walk it off. Don't wait to see if it gets better. Because with stroke, waiting is the most dangerous thing you can do. If you ever feel unsteady, clumsy, or like your legs aren't listening, especially if it happens alongside dizziness or slurred speech, call for help. You don't have to fall for it to be serious. Even a small stumble might be your big warning. Have you ever had a moment where walking felt strange? Like your own body surprised you? That moment matters. Because the longer you wait to act, the harder it becomes to walk, speak, or live the way you're used to. Have you ever been struck by a headache so sharp, so sudden, it felt like it came out of nowhere? Like thunder cracking inside your skull? Not a dull ache. Not the slow kind you get when you're tired or dehydrated, but something more intense, more violent. People often describe it as the worst headache of their life. And if that happens to you, especially if you're not someone who normally gets headaches, don't ignore it. Because this kind of headache could be a sign of a hemorrhagic stroke, the kind that happens when a blood vessel in the brain bursts. And when bleeding starts inside the brain, every single minute matters. You might also feel nauseous, confused, sensitive to light, or have blurry vision. And yet, many people lie down. They take something for the pain. They wait, hoping it'll pass. But while you're waiting, damage is happening. You see, unlike a tension headache or even a migraine, stroke-related headaches don't give you time. They hit hard, fast, and without warning. Instead of thinking, "I'll just rest," ask yourself, why would my head suddenly feel like this, out of nowhere? What if this isn't just pain? What if it's pressure building inside my brain? Acting quickly could be the difference between recovery and permanent damage. Or worse. So here's what I want you to remember. If a headache hits you like lightning, fast, intense, and unlike anything you felt before, call for help, even if it passes, even if it feels better after a few minutes, because your brain doesn't get second chances. Have you, or someone close to you, ever had a headache that felt not right? That story could help someone recognize that not all pain is harmless. Sometimes it's the only warning we get. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, something looks off? Maybe one side of your mouth didn't lift like it used to. Maybe your cheek felt heavier. Maybe your eyelids seemed to droop just a little more than usual. And you wondered, is it just tiredness? But here's the truth. When your face suddenly changes, when a smile becomes uneven, or one side doesn't move like the other, that's not aging. That's your brain calling for help. Facial drooping is one of the clearest, most urgent signs of a stroke. It happens when a stroke affects the part of your brain that controls the muscles in your face. That's why one side stays still while the other moves. That's why your smile suddenly shifts from familiar to frightening. And the most dangerous mistake? Waiting to see if it goes away. Because in many cases, it might. And people think, well, I'm fine now, I must have imagined it. But it could have been a TIA, a mini stroke, and that means the next one might not be so small. Here's a quick test you can try right now. Stand in front of a mirror. Smile. Do both sides of your mouth rise evenly? Now, raise both arms. Can you keep them up without one drifting down? Then say a simple sentence like, "The sky is blue today." Do the words come out clear and strong? If the answer to any of those is no, don't wait. Call for help. Because time lost is brain lost. Instead of assuming it'll get better, think about what could happen if you wait too long. What if this is your body giving you one last whisper before it screams? Have you or someone you love ever seen this in the mirror and thought twice? That single moment could be the chance to act, protect your future, and stay in control of your life. Now that you know the 8 early warning signs of a stroke, what will you do with that knowledge? Because here's the truth. These signs don't shout. They whisper. And when you're over 60, those whispers matter more than ever. A stumble, a slurred word, a strange headache, a drooping smile. They might seem small, easy to explain away. But instead of saying, "It's probably nothing," what if you said, "This might be something I can stop"? Because stroke doesn't always come with pain. Sometimes it comes with silence, a foggy moment, a forgotten word, a body that feels just a little off. But in that moment, you have power. You have the chance to protect your brain, your independence, your life. So if even one of these signs has happened to you, don't wait. Talk to your doctor. Share this video with someone you love, and leave a comment below. Your story, your single moment of awareness, might help someone else take action before it's too late. And if you found this helpful, subscribe to Golden Wellness 365, because every week we bring you simple, honest ways to protect your health, your mind, and your freedom as you age. Take care, stay alert, and always listen when your body speaks.